asked Elizabeth Grant to join me in presenting today's modern telling of the prodigal story. She was always Dad's favorite. Even as a child, she always just wanted to do what Dad did. When I was out with my friends, she would go biking with him. When he listened to classical music, she would put on her ballet clothes and dance. She took his college books down from the shelves and read them. What a suck-up.
Not Lydia. 100% her own self, my parents said, whatever that means. An excuse, it seems, to do whatever you want. Lydia would refuse to do what Mom and Dad asked, yelling, slamming doors, always creating a scene, always being difficult. I was 4 years younger, in middle school when she was in high school. I was too shy and awkward to go to the dances, but not Lydia. She was smoking and drinking, and I wouldn't be surprised if she was doing drugs.
My high school years were the best. I was a cheerleader, popular, there were parties, everyone wanted to hang out with me, and there were always guys around.
I would come home and Mom would be crying. Things were so tense. And Mom and Dad were preoccupied. Sometimes Dad didn't have the energy for our Thursday night bike rides. And sometimes Mom would forget to pick me up after dance class. And so I learned to walk home through those city streets, orienting myself by that tall, odd-shaped building that was just a block from our apartment.
Yeah, it got crazy. Mom and Dad were trying to box me in and telling me when I had to be home. I just wanted to be out with my friends, so sometimes I wouldn't come home.
Once she didn't come home for 2 days, and my parents called the police.
I wasn't going to let them arrest me, so I screamed and kicked. My dad told me years later that the police said I was the feistiest 120-pound kid they had ever seen, but I refused to go home, so they sent me to the juvie shelter for a while.
I think the worst of it was the day I came home to find Dad already home and talking to the police. I remember how he cried after they left. It was the first time I ever saw my father cry. It hurt so much, especially knowing it was because of my sister.
Honestly, I was convinced they didn't like me. Why should I go home? But the juvie place was just weird, so I went home. And besides, it was just a few months until I got to go off to college.
Mom and Dad hoped that Lydia would pull herself together in college, hoped that a little distance from home would give her the space she needed to be herself, rather than just always butting her head up against every rule.
Yeah, I didn't do well that first year in college, or the second. I was too busy having fun. Oh my gosh, the crazy parties.
I was happy to have her away for a while. It gave me space without her crazy energy, and Mom and Dad always worried about her. Everything was easier. And because of that, I was convinced that Mom and Dad loved me more than her. I mean, how could they not? I was so compliant and easy and hardly ever in trouble.
They decided they would not pay for my college with my grades so bad. I really didn't have anywhere else to go, so I had to go home.
For 6 months, we were in the house together again. It was miserable. She would borrow my clothes without asking. She dated a bunch of pretty sketchy guys. And that awful tension, which had never really been gone, was back in spades and escalating.
We went to a party together one night. I don't know what I was thinking, taking Sabra along, my goody-goody sister. There was this guy who showed an interest in her, but she didn't know what he wanted. I knew, and I could give him a good time. She was mad, but he wasn't her type anyway.
I was so ready to leave when it came my time to go to college.
Yeah, Sabra decided to go to college where Dad went to college. Is it any surprise? Mom and Dad said it was because her grades were better than mine. Of course they were. I don't even think she drank in high school.
Turns out that about this same time, Lydia decided to strike out on her own. My parents said they wouldn't keep paying for her, so she just said, "Okay, just give me the rest of my college savings and I'll not bother you again." Mom and Dad didn't know what else to do. They convinced themselves there was fairness in the scheme. So they gave her a bunch of money and let her go. She moved out west with a boyfriend.
This is when it got really bad, I tell you. I just really didn't think about how one thing would lead to another, and pretty soon I was into some pretty bad stuff with some pretty bad people. I had spent all the money, and my boyfriend and I couldn't afford the rent.
I think she called home every now and again, tried to make things sound good, but every time she called, my parents would go through this twisted dance, trying to believe her words, but catching the sadness in her voice. I have to tell you, I almost wish she didn't call at all. It hurt them so much. And so once again, I was the super good girl to make sure I did not add to their worries. After I graduated, I took a job back home and moved in with them. I bought groceries, helped with the cleaning, took my turn cooking. I even got Dad riding his bike again.
I remember one day when we had just been kicked out of our apartment. We were camping out in the back of the station wagon. I had finished my last temp job. It got so bad we didn't even have gas. On good days, we were ordering the cheapest stuff off of the McDonald's menu. On bad days, we found garbage behind restaurants. One day I was so hungry, but my thinking was twisted, so with the little money I had, I got some drugs to make me feel better. I was sitting on the curb in an abandoned lot, coming down from a high and feeling so sorry for myself, when across the street I saw this father and daughter walk into a diner, and I found myself wondering, would my dad take me out to a diner if he saw me now?
And then she came home.
So I went home. I stirred up a fight with my boyfriend and called my parents and asked if I could come home for a visit.
She came home. The screw-up came home. You should have seen Mom and Dad going all over themselves to welcome her back. They went crazy. They found her a rehab center and bought her new clothes and got her into a job training program.
They helped me get my life back together.
And they bought her a used car and paid for her insurance for a year. In the meanwhile, I was still working my job and helping around the house and paying groceries, running errands. But they were all over themselves for Lydia.
Look, I'll be the first to tell you that I was still difficult. The addictive thing stays with you a while. I could be savagely selfish and bitter at times. But here was the hard part. Sabra was always just being the good girl. I was trying, but sometimes I screwed up just because I couldn't be compared to her.
It just didn't feel fair. I kept to their values. I'd honored all their wishes, shown them years of admiration and respect and love. But suddenly, they were just all about Lydia.
Sabra was so distant and cold.
I wanted as little to do with her as possible. Actually, I just wanted her to leave. But when she didn't, I started making plans to leave.
I tried talking to her a few times, but it was no use. Even Mom said she was ruffled by my return.
But it was when Mom came to talk to me that I almost fell apart. Mom asked me what was wrong with me. With me. With me. Nothing. Nothing had been wrong with me. Nothing had ever been wrong with me. I was always the good girl. I was always trying to do the right thing while Lydia was doing all this dramatic stuff that got all of their dramatic response. I said to them, I don't even know why you still love her. Yeah, I said that. God, looking back at that now, I can't believe I said that.
She didn't think there was space for both her and for me in the apartment. But it wasn't about the apartment. It was something about the two of us, the competition for heart space. It was as if there could be one of us only and not both, or one of these, steady love or lavish forgiveness, not both.
I left, but I was emotionally still there being the good girl. Every time we talked, if I talked about good stuff, it seemed like I was just bragging. So I just listened, really, and heard how Lydia had messed up this time.
Yeah, of course I screwed up again. Mom, in particular, could just drive me crazy. Sometimes it felt like she was needling me.
It was like my mind just couldn't get free of the noise of my sister. Lydia the screw-up, yet Lydia the loved. How could that be? I just didn't get it.
And there was always Sabra in the air, even when she wasn't there. It was as if my mom had this advertising campaign going for her. Sabra did this, Sabra did that. It made me crazy.
I didn't get it. I didn't get it. I didn't get it. And then I got married, and I didn't get it. And I moved farther away from home, and I didn't get it. And I talked to them on the phone once a week, Mom and Dad. Occasionally Lydia and I talked, but it was hard. I was still so angry at her for messing up my parents' lives, and at my parents for not still being mad at her.
She still drives over a couple of times a month so that she and Dad can ride bikes together, though not as far or fast anymore. Sometimes I see the way she is with them. It is so easy for the three of them to be together. There's something I'll never be a part of.
And I didn't get it. And I didn't get it. And then I had kids.
And finally I moved out and got married and had kids.
And I look at my two, they couldn't be more different.
My two and her two. They are close to the same age, you know.
And sometimes when the cousins are together,
the four of them are like the 4 points of a compass.
It's ridiculous. But what's really ridiculous is I want my mom and dad to love my kids more than her kids. How could I want that? I would never want to love one of my own children more than the other.
Mom and Dad think she's the better parent.
And I know that's not what happens, because there is no loving them the same or equally.
But I can see how they love my children. My parents love them. And even Sabra has a true connection with my two kids. But boy, the two are different from each other. One is so compliant and sweet, and the other a handful.
I know that each child draws from the full well of love that you have. There is no holding back of love or dividing love. There's only the pouring it out and hoping it can be fully received. All you can do is love them.
I know now that all you can do is love and forgive.
And forgive them. And pray that time will come when they finally can forgive you.